It's now been officially announced that Nintendo will be attending Gamescom this year, on August 20th through the 24th. Now, this is actually a lot bigger of a deal than you might think, because Gamescom is the time for all developers and game companies to come together and show off their big products that are releasing for that holiday. In 2017, of course, Nintendo attended Gamescom because it was the launch of the Nintendo Switch, and the major game was Mario Odyssey. They also had Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle, but Mario Odyssey was the thing that everyone wanted to go to try out for themselves. In 2018, the major game was Smash Brothers. Of course, everyone wanted to try out the new Smash Brothers. There were even tour buses going around the world where you can actually go to your own local area and try out Smash Brothers as well. I did so myself with my friends, but you also had things like Starlink Battle for Atlas, which was kind of like a Star Fox crossover that they had with that one, and some other smaller games, but definitely Smash focused. 2019, Super Mario Maker 2 had just launched, so its main focus now was on Luigi's Mansion 3, and pretty much all the kiosks were really just about this game. But you would also have the Link's Awakening remake there as well. But for the next 3 years, Nintendo would not be at Gamescom, mostly because 2020 and 2021 was only online events, and Nintendo did some things for their online events, but really not a whole lot. But when it returned to in-person in 2022, Nintendo would skip this one altogether. Now you might ask, why didn't Nintendo want to have presentations with these last 3 years? There wasn't a lot to show off. I mean, if you go back to 2020, it was just Paper Mario the Origami King and Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Now the Hyrule Warriors franchise is made by Koei Tecmo, so it's kind of like a second party, almost third party created game for Nintendo, so there wasn't a whole lot for them to show off that year. 2021 didn't have a whole lot either. The biggest game for sure was Metroid Dread, and then after that we only got Mario Party Superstars, so a 2D Metroid and the second Mario Party game on Nintendo Switch. So as good as Metroid Dread actually turned out to be, nothing here really super stood out for Nintendo to have a whole presentation and kind of event with. For 2022, Nintendo chose not to show up to anything with Gamescom, and the only real major game they had outside of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet was Splatoon 3, and I guess they didn't care about people playing this. I feel like this would have been a perfect game for something like Gamescom, but I guess it wasn't big enough to Nintendo. Now, Nintendo had a pretty big year already in 2023. They started off with Tears of the Kingdom, then they had Pikmin 4 during the summer, and Mario Wonder was their big holiday game. But Nintendo didn't really have a big event, even though they did show up. It apparently seems to be like Nintendo showed up to this Gamescom specifically with one goal in mind: to talk to developers behind closed doors about Switch 2, and this is where all the rumors started pouring out since then. So it seems like that was Nintendo's main goal of 2023, and they didn't care too much about Mario Wonder being like this big set piece. Then for last year of 2024, Nintendo would once again skip Gamescom, as it seemed like they were preparing for Switch 2 at this point. But this is very strange because Nintendo had a lot of stuff they could have shown off. This was probably the most games that they had towards the end of the year in a very long time. They had Echoes of Wisdom coming out in September. They had a brand new Mario Party with Mario Party Jamboree coming out in October, and in the month after that, in November, they had Mario & Luigi Brothership. So it's very strange to me that Nintendo didn't have demos and kiosks for these 3 games, as there was a lot going on with Nintendo here. So I don't know what's going on. But now we're in the year 2025, obviously, and it seems very clear to me that Nintendo only goes to Gamescom if they have a specific goal in mind, something that they really care about, that they need the audience to know. They're not going to go for smaller games or even some of their big games if it's not hitting a goal of theirs. Once again, they felt like 2017 was huge because of Odyssey, and 2018 was huge because of Smash Ultimate, and 2019 was huge because of Luigi's Mansion 3. So when we look at those things, we got to think about what is Nintendo planning for this year, because let's look at what we have so far. So with the show being in August, it shuts down almost half or over half of the things that we know about for Switch 2 already. Mario Kart World will launch with the Nintendo Switch in the beginning of June, so they won't probably be talking about this game much. And also Donkey Kong Bonanza comes out a month later in July, so they probably won't be talking about that game either. And let's not forget about the Switch 2 Edition games, because the Mario Party Jamboree plus Jamboree TV, it's a long name, that actually releases in July, so that game is coming out at the same month time frame as Donkey Kong, will not be at Gamescom. And both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 editions will release on launch of Switch 2, So yeah, that won't be there either. And for Kirby and the Forgotten Land Star Cross World Edition with Switch 2, that comes out at the very end of August, being August 28th, so just a couple days after Gamescom ends. So it's hard to say if this will be there or not. I'm going to say no, because I feel like they wouldn't want to have a whole booth for a Switch game that has been out now and is only adding kind of a small additional mode, so I highly doubt it would be there. Now, with those out of the way, it still leaves us with a good handful of games for the rest of the year. We have Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, which is a Switch 2 edition. Yes, it's a big game this year, but once again, you want games to show off the Switch 2, and you want people to come out and buy a Switch 2 for a reason. People don't have to buy a Switch 2 to play Metroid Prime 4. If they already have a console, most people would rather just spend the money on the game rather than having to go out and buy a new console for hardcore Metroid fans that just want to play the game on the console that they already have without spending an extra $450. You also have Pokemon Legends ZA, but once again, that is a Switch 2 edition game, meaning it's coming to Switch 1 and Switch 2, once again, not giving a whole lot of incentive to buy a Switch 2 for this holiday, because once again, yes, these games will look and run better. You don't have to buy them on Switch 2, you can buy them on Switch 1. So with that leaves us with only 2 Switch 2 exclusive games left. One of those being another Hyrule Warriors game with Age of Imprisonment, which is the third Hyrule Warriors game, the second one in the Breath of the Wild / Tears of the Kingdom world, which isn't even a direct first party game. Like I said, it's kind of like second parties being worked on by Nintendo and Koei Tecmo, which is a third party company. And you have Kirby Air Riders, which is being worked on not necessarily by Nintendo directly, once again, kind of that second party, as being worked on by Sakurai and his team. But with this information and Nintendo wanting to join Gamescom, I haven't really seen anything like that one specific game that they would want to have Gamescom for. They definitely could have booths for a lot of these games, but they need one major game to really have people excited for Gamescom and for Switch 2 this holiday. Like I said, their lineup is great and they could easily fill out tons of booths and have tons of areas to try out all these games, and maybe even a couple more small ones as well that they announced for the rest of this year, but I still do feel like they're missing one major title to really just seal off this year, and they really need a big major title to kind of get people to go out this holiday and buy a Switch 2. I don't know if anybody's going to buy a Switch 2 specifically for Age of Imprisonment. Maybe some diehard fans for Kirby Air Riders, but not enough for the general person to just say, oh, I need to go out and spend $450 for a new Kirby Air Ride. You know what I mean? So there needs to be something else in Nintendo's sleeve, and I really do think there is. I mean, I actually now am about 100% sure there will be some type of June Nintendo Direct, like a week or two right after the Switch 2 launches. Now is the big question, which we tried to talk about before, is what is this massive game going to be? What massive game do they want to show off at this Switch 2 Nintendo Direct this summer, and also for Gamescom for people to play as a big holiday game? And as I sit and try to figure this out, I really don't know. Now, you know me, when I hear someone mumble the words Mario, or 3D Mario to be specific, I hear it from years away. Like, I'm there. I'm immediately going to find out what's going on. And it seems like ever since this information had come out about Nintendo being at Gamescom this year, everybody for some reason is just jumping back on the 3D Mario hype train, and I'm not doing that quite yet. I mean, seriously, all over Twitter, it's all I'm reading is 3D Mario game coming, 3D Mario game about to be announced, 3D Mario game coming, because the Nintendo's at Gamescom this year, there must be something huge, and it must be 3D Mario. You know, me of all people would want to have a 3D Mario this holiday. I just don't know if it's going to happen. A lot of people keep bringing up the fact that the Odyssey team could be working on Donkey Kong Bonanza, and that we might have to wait an additional 3 to 4 years. No, I don't think it's like that. It could definitely be a separate team, or maybe a separate part of the Odyssey team that's working on this next 3D Mario game. It doesn't need to be the same exact team. You know, they can have separate teams, guys. But something tells me that this might actually end up being a game that doesn't come out until the beginning of next year, the earliest, or sometime next year. I know it seems like we just keep pushing it back, and I hate it. Trust me, I wish it was this year. I wish it was last year. But we just gotta wait and see what Nintendo's cooking up with this game. Maybe it's really, really gonna be worth it. I hope it. I mean, I'm sure it will be, but I don't know if that's gonna be this year's holiday game. I'm still really confident in it possibly being Luigi's Mansion 4. It makes sense as a style of game that we don't have in the current lineup so far, being kind of like this 3D ghost collector collectathon adventure game with Luigi, with puzzle elements added to it as well. It's something that I think would fit this schedule very, very well, and especially with the graphics that this game could have. I mean, Luigi's Mansion 3 already looks like one of the best Nintendo games that they've ever made, so something with even stronger hardware on Switch 2 could really show some extreme graphics with Mansion 4, and I feel like this could be a perfect holiday game. There's other options as well, of course, but another reason people are still really sticking to this 3D Mario thing is, at the end of this year, we'll probably be entering the Mario 40th anniversary celebration. Yes, this year is Mario's 40th anniversary, so that means, yeah, we'll be having big festivities probably around the September month, which is normally what Nintendo does, where they'll probably celebrate and give us a bunch of goodies. Wouldn't it be a perfect time to have that 3D Mario right around Gamescom, have people see it, and, you know, have people be able to get their hands on it and get excited for a big 3D Mario, not only for this holiday year, but also for the big first holiday year of a brand new console being Switch 2, and also on Mario's 40th anniversary. I mean, the time frame is perfect here. It's been about 8 years since Odyssey. It's definitely more than time for the next 3D Mario game, and people are scratching, they're itching, they can't wait to see what Nintendo's been cooking up, and I think it would be a perfect time to reveal this thing during the June Nintendo Direct. Will it happen? I am not getting my hopes up. I am not making any promises anymore. We're just gonna have to wait and see, but I can definitely see them announcing it maybe at the Fall Nintendo Direct if it's not at the June one, and if it's not at the Fall Nintendo Direct, I don't know anymore. I give up. But let me know, guys, what you think about this. With Nintendo joining Gamescom once again this year, is there a reason behind it? Is Nintendo cooking up something massive? Is there a big new 3D Mario on the way? What's happening? What's going on? Are we even going to get a June Nintendo Direct? I want to hear what you guys think down below. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe before you head out. And like always, I hope you all have a blessed day. And I'll see you all on the next one. See you guys.